When does being messy become a disorder, and is television counseling best suited to help?
Let the bass grow.
Hoarding is a symptom of an anxiety disorder, and specifically obsessive compulsive disorder. So it's sort of classified as an anxiety behavior.
We've all known somebody who might fit into this category. Aunt Betsy with the messy dining room table covered in paperwork, the closet full of unworn clothes, or the room overtaken by what you might call junk, but what Aunt Betsy calls collectibles. Approximately 3 million people in the US deal with the disorder, but the initial concern is correctly diagnosing the disorder as a problem and not just as being highly unorganized.
All anxiety disorders, not just OCD, but phobias and social anxiety, all exist on a continuum where everybody has that to some degree. I can be socially anxious and I can do most things socially, but maybe there are certain activities I avoid because I'm uncomfortable. So, all right, Aunt Betsy is a little bit further down on the continuum. And one of the differences we look for to define when has a line been crossed is when does the activity, when does the behavior, hoarding behavior, reach a point where it is now interfering with one's ability to function. So Aunt Betsy can save a little bit, straighten up a little bit, stack a little bit, whatever she's doing, and then she goes on her way, and it doesn't control the rest of her day. The hoarders spend what we would say is an inordinate amount of time each day focused on this activity.
Treating disorders has become one of the latest trends in reality TV. Drug addiction and obsessive compulsive disorders, or OCDs, top the list of show topics, with hoarding being the latest in the foray. A&E's Hoarders and the Learning Channel's Hoarding Buried Alive have caught the fascination of the viewing public and are moving full speed ahead with no end in sight.
The hoarding shows are unique in that they of course, for the purpose of selling the show, they're showing you the most extreme examples. The fact that one of them even talks about buried alive, has buried alive in the title, says something about what they're trying to convey and the individuals they work with. In some ways, the approach you sometimes see on the program is a little like pushing somebody into the water. Pat them on the back, hey, we're gonna make some changes, and now what we do is strip down the house, significant changes, much to the chagrin of the individual, right? You sometimes see spikes in anxiety when the individuals see what's actually happening. It's very hard for them to tolerate that. And so eventually you have to loosen those irrational thoughts because I can't justify it anymore. I can't justify that if I don't do this thing, something bad's gonna happen, because it didn't happen.
Given that the producers showcase the worst case scenarios, situations where the subject is close to eviction, is the cold turkey method the best way to serve these individuals?
They're not catching hoarders who are, a mile down the road. They're catching hoarders who are 20 miles down the road. And so, is it a fair representation of what happens when a hoarder reaches the point where family members are screaming that something has to be done? Absolutely. And also probably a fair representation that when you reach that point and you can't recognize that your house is suddenly unlivable, we've had people whose homes are condemned because of the state that they're in, that sometimes the quote-unquote treatment truly is somebody forcing you to make the change you will not make for yourself.